Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Owen Campbell, and this is my term presentation for AE 372. So a little background before we get into this. The Whisk Wheel Company makes precision hub assemblies for bicycles and uses strict machining processes to ensure high quality. The company monitors performance with statistical process control, SCP tools, including X-bar and R charts and histograms, to track variation in key measurements like machine quality control, machine variable, and wrist wheel cutoff. And a little bit more background. Recently, the company noticed signs of process instability. Control charts showed process drift and more variation, especially in the wrist wheel cutoff stage. Histograms revealed skewered distributions and wider spreads, which means the process was no longer centered or consistent. Also, operator behavior, such as frequent manual adjustments, added more variation, often without statistical reason. And the problem statement for this part: Whisk Wheel Company is experiencing process drift and uncontrolled variation in its hub assembly operations, especially in the wrist wheel cutoff stage. These issues are compromising the process's ability to consistently meet quality specifications, signaling that the process is not capable and requires corrective action. So now we're on to the percentages. For day one, part one, the statistical analysis shows that the process variation is too large relative to the tolerance window. With an estimated sigma of about 0.0052, the specification half width of 0.005 corresponds to a z-score of only 0.96. Using normal distribution, this means roughly 33.7% of the parts fall outside of the specification limits. Because process is center close to the nominal 3.750, the fallout is fairly balanced. At about 16 to 17% of the parts are below the lower limit, shorter than 3.745, and about 16 to 17% are above the upper limit, 3.755. In other words, nearly 1 out of every 3 hubs produced in one day would be rejected, which clearly demonstrates the process is not capable of meeting customer requirements without sorting or rework. So now we're moving on to part 2. This is my X chart for part 2. This X chart from day 2 shows the average hub lengths for each subgroup over time. While most points fall within the control limits, the chart reveals noticeable fluctuation around the center line, with several averages approaching the spec boundaries. The variation suggests that the process is unstable, likely due to frequent operator adjustments or inconsistent setup. Although no points exceed the control limit, the lack of tight clustering indicates the process is not yet in statistical control. Moving on from that, this is my R chart for part 2. This R chart from day 2 shows the range of hub lengths within each subgroup. While all points fall within the control limits, the ranges vary noticeably from one subgroup to the next. The inconsistency suggests unstable process variation, likely caused by frequent operator adjustments or inconsistent cutting conditions. The lack of tight clustering around the center line confirms that the process isn't yet under control. Moving on from that, this is my histogram for part 2. This histogram combines day 1 and day 2 data, showing how hub length measurements are distributed across defined intervals. The frequencies are fairly uniform across the bins, which indicate that process variation is widespread and not tightly centered around the target value of 3.750 inches. Instead of a sharp peak near the nominal dimension, the data is spread broadly across the measurement range, with no clear concentration around the specification limits. This pattern suggests that both common cause variation and possible special cause factors are influencing the process. The lack of a dominant central peak reinforces that the process is not stable or capable, and the widespread directly translates into a high percentage of out-of-spec parts. Taken together, the histogram highlights the need for tighter control and reduction variation before the process can reliably meet customer requirements. So moving on from part 2, this is my R chart for part 3. The R control chart shows the range of hub lengths across subgroups for day 3, and it provides important insight into how the process variation has changed over time. All of the plotted points fall well within the upper and lower control limits, which indicates that no subgroup displayed excessive variation or instability compared to the earlier days. The ranges are noticeably more consistent with fewer sharp jumps or irregular patterns. This tighter clustering around the center line suggests that the process variation is stabilizing, meaning the cutting operation is being performed with greater uniformity. The absence of points near the control limits also reinforces that special cause variation has been reduced, leaving primarily common cause variation in the system overall. The chart demonstrates that by day 3, the process was under better control with fewer spikes and tighter accuracy, marking a clear improvement in stability compared to earlier production runs. This X-bar chart from day 3 highlights the subgroup averages for hub lengths over time. All points remain within the control limits, and the clustering around the center line is much tighter than the earlier days. This pattern indicates that the process mean has stabilized with less functional and fewer signs of special cause variation compared to day 1 and day 2. The chart demonstrates clear improvement in consistency and control, showing greater reliability and reduced risk of producing out-of-spec parts. So this is my histogram data for day 3. The day 3 histogram shows hub length measurements are distributed across intervals, giving clear picture of the overall spread of data. Most frequencies remain low and fairly even across the bins, with no strong peak near the target of 3.750 inches. This pattern indicates that the process is still producing a wide range of measurements rather than clustering tightly around the nominal dimension. While the variation appears somewhat reduced compared to earlier days, the distribution is not yet centered consistent enough to ensure parts will fall within specification limits. The histogram reinforces that, although progress has been made, the process still requires improvement to achieve true compatibility and reliable quality. Across 3 days of production, the percentage parts outside the specification limits steadily decreased, but remained too high. On day 1, about 33.7% of the hubs were out of spec and split evenly above and below the limit. Day 2 was worse, with nearly a 40% rejected, while day 3 improved to about 18.4% out of spec. The day 3 control chart shows tighter clustering and more consistent ranges. Helpful distinguish common cause variation from special cause spikes. Comparing all the results, the process is still trending towards stability, but is still not capable of consistently meeting specification, meaning further reduction of variation and eliminating special causes are required. I would like to thank you so much for watching. Please let me know if you have any questions, and have a great day.